हेलो फ्रेंड्स, केजी क्लासेस में आपका स्वागत है। आज हम आपको अल्फ्रेड लॉर्ड टेनिसन के क्वेश्चन आंसर के बारे में बताएंगे। क्वेश्चन: राइट ए नोट ऑन टेनिसन एज ए पोएट ऑफ नेचर। आंसर: इंट्रोडक्शन। टेनिसन्स एटीट्यूड टुवर्ड्स नेचर इन डिफरेंट फॉर्म दैट ऑफ द ग्रेट नेचर प्रीस्ट वर्ड्सवर्थ। हिज लव ऑफ नेचर कैन बी स्टडीड बोथ इन कंपैरिजन एंड कंट्रास्ट विद दैट ऑफ वर्ड्सवर्थ. Tennyson loved to paint nature in all its picturesque beauty with a scientific accuracy and minuteness. His nature descriptions are colored with his personal emotions. Often he paints the seamy side of nature. Let us see his attitude towards nature in detail. Heading: Tennyson and Wordsworth as poets of nature. Wordsworth had loved nature for its own sake. He placed her on a basis of equality with humanity as a subject of poetry. Nature brought him solace, comfort, a seductress of mind, and a spiritual calm. But worshipping devotedly at the shrine of nature, Wordsworth finally looked into the life of things and had mystical visions of the oneness of man and nature. Nature was both law and impulse to Wordsworth, but as he grew, Wordsworth came to emphasize more and more the disciplining element in nature and more placid and tranquil aspect of nature. Nature thus molded his moral being and gave him a spiritual calm, a high reward indeed. His lifelong devotion to nature, and none could escape the influence of this mighty mind. But it was not possible, owing principally to disturbing discoveries of science, for Tennyson to imbibe the calmness of spirit from nature with an unquestioning faith, as Stafford A. Brooke remarks. Mainly speaking, the differences between Wordsworth and Tennyson as poet of nature consist in the absence from Tennyson's mind of any belief of conception of a life in nature. He described nature on the whole as she was to his own senses. As she appeared on the outside, he did it with extraordinary skill, observation, accuracy, and magnificence. He did not conceive nature as alive. He did not love her as a living being, as Wordsworth did as a poet of nature. He is vivid, accurate, living, but cold. Having an intellectual treatment of nature. Tennyson's approach to nature is intellectual rather than emotional, like that of Wordsworth. His approach is that of a scientist who is also an artist. He viewed nature with the eye of a scientist who saw both the aspects pleasing and wild in nature. To him, nature is not alive. He described it as it appears to his senses with accuracy and skillful art. It has beauty and sublimity. It can inspire awe and admiration, but it does not communicate, since it is lifeless. Therefore, his attitude is scientific. The scientific attitude can be illustrated by numerous quotations from poems like the Lotus Eaters. They not only reveal his loving and minute observation of nature, but also his unique mastery of scientific details. Like Lucretius, he really understood well the drift of science. In Tennyson's treatment of external nature, we find therefore a happy blend of the sensuousness of Keats and the scientific spirit. He is sensitive like Keats to the impression of the senses, and at the same time he is conscious of the element of law and order in nature. In The Lotus Eaters, he selects detail of external nature to create in a reader a mood which owes its quality of richness, heaviness, and lassitude to the quality of the impression gathered by the senses. Heading nature in relation to man. Tennyson never sees nature without thinking of man. Wordsworth loved solitary communion with nature. Byron and Scott isolated it from man. But Tennyson did not forget man while painting a scene of nature. Man is always there. He pupilled his landscape as he was afraid of being alone. Nature in Tennyson reflects joy and sorrow of his man and woman. He did not care much to be alone with nature since he did not care to love it for its own sake. Nature to Tennyson is always a background for reflecting some human emotions. He paints various aspects of nature to depict moods of joy, sorrow, languors. In the poem The Lotus Eaters, the mood of the wayward sailors is best expressed through the object of nature. There is sweet music here that softer falls than petals from blown roses on the grass, or night dews on still waters between walls, or shadow granite in a gleaming pass. In the same way, there are some pictures of sorrow in varying degree of poignancy in memoriam. Poignant sorrow and nature intermingle to hide as the pathos of the following verse of In Memoriam. He is not here but far away. The noise of life begins again, and hastily through the drizzling rain on the bald street breaks the silent day. In fact, in Tennyson's poetry, nature is humanized. She rejoices or is steeped in gloom accordingly as man is in a joyous or in a sorrowful mood. Her beauty, calm, and music are of our creation. Heading a visual nature pictures. Tennyson's minute observation and vivid painting of natural scenery is almost unrivaled. Lines like with blast that blow the poplar white in memoriam well illustrate his accuracy of observation. Quite often he employs a scientific fact to illustrate a moral truth or a spiritual force, as in the following lines of Enoch Arden. Prayers from a living source within the will and beating up through all the bitter world like fountain of sweet water in the sea. Note also the following lines from the Princess. But trim ourselves and let old bygones be while down the streams that floats us each and all. To the issue goes like glittering berg of ice, thrown after thrown and molten on the waste beacons a cloud. Tennyson composes his nature into pictures. It may be stated that nature pictures of Wordsworth and Shelley lack visual effect, but Tennyson's are lively painting in words. He valued accuracy of observation in his picture most. The following lines support and point. I know the way she went home with her maiden Podgy, for her feet have touched the meadows and left the daisies rosy. The autumn storm is thus picturized. The last red leaf is whirled away. The rocks are blown about the sky. Similarly, here is the picture of a tide such a tide as moving seems as lap too full of sound and form. Accurate observation and delicate poetic feeling are happily blended in Tennyson's poem. He observed objects around him and pictured them with a fancy run riots because he perceived law and order in them. No poet expecting crab ever dealt with the minute of nature so well as Tennyson. In the trembling of autumn hollyhocks, in the moonlit mist of December, in the larches and lapwings of the spring, in the looming trees of summer darkness, and the little chirping crisis of summer dawn. His memory is there because of him. The very earth has become more beautiful, says Professor Lucas of Tennyson. Tennyson's landscapes, spring and autumn's flowers and fruits are painted with no vogue touches. It is true that he sometimes gives us senses of savage grandeur, but very often he describes calm, still English landscape, the haunts of ancient peace, with platted alleys and terrace lawn, long grey fields, traces of pastures, sunny warm, and all the order quiet of rural life. English landscape. Heading है As a painter of nature, Tennyson is thoroughly English, like those of Wordsworth. His nature descriptions are all localized. On the whole, his nature poetry is a sincere picture of English countryside, its sight and sound, its rivers and hills, birds and flowers. It is only the familiar landscape of his own country, Surrey, Kent, and the Isle of Wight, with that he painted with a skilled artist hand. He was not successful like Byron in describing the impression of foreign scenery received during travels abroad. What Wordsworth did for the Lake District, Tennyson did for the south of England. Living with nature in one place for years and from incessant observation, he acutely created in poetry a portion of England with its birds and flowers, its skies and woodlands, meadow and streams, so vividly and truly that every touch tells. The natural landscape in Enoch Arden is based on fresh water in Onon, is drawn from the valley of Canterd in Marina in the south. It is the site and scene of the region near Perpignan, but there are invented landscape in poems like the Lotus Eaters, Ulysses, and also in Onon. These landscapes are beautiful and fit the subject. The perpetual moonrise in the lotus land, the languid and leisurely rivers, and the rosette hue of the sky is in keeping with the mood of the mariners tired of long ordeals at the sea. Heading a conclusion. Tennyson holds an important place among nature poets of England. As Gransden observed, Tennyson saw nature as a setting for performance and spectacles as intense and as transitory as the emotion which sweep across the mind. Sometimes they seem to echo human feeling, but sometimes seem indifferent to them and irrelevant. Like Hardy, Tennyson was a man who used to notice such things. His technique of close observation and accurate description was followed by the pre-Raphaelites. Thanks, best of luck.